Hi, welcome back to another video. I am so glad that you are here, and today we are going to go through 3 layers: a burnt sienna wash, an eyelid purple, and then a flesh tone but on a different baby. So I hope that you have come here today ready to paint or ready to watch and just get everything that you can from watching me paint today. So go ahead and get your favorite drink. I have my coffee right here, and let's get into it. I have a flat shading brush that I am using to work the burnt sienna wash, which, as I noted on the screen, is the majority of Ansol, which can be found at Michael's or any art and supply store. It's an odorless mineral spirit. It's the best that I have found because it doesn't evaporate very quickly, so then I get more time to paint additional areas without having to pounce the current area I'm on immediately. So I love me some Ansol. Asked me that, girl. So I chose this color because we're going for a brown and I wanted to warm it up a little bit more. In the previous video, we did another wash after having done the underpainting. So in order to create a warm and rich tone, I have to lay it down under this. So we actually treat the tone that we're going for. Every layer is like a stepping stone to every layer. And we're using dark skin and it has a very golden So you guys saw my brown cosmetic wedge, my favorite, right? So the importance of this is making sure that we are cleaning every bit of paint out of crevices and creases that can really tuck paint away and eventually start to look muddy and dirty. And we want to avoid that at all costs. And now I'm taking a finer brush and getting out just to make sure that we don't really have much room for muddy or dirty creases. Let's talk about color placement for a second, and no better place than to start with the hand. So as we notice, I'm placing the paint on the very edge of the fingers, closest to the cuticle, if you will. And the reason for this is because in black and brown babies, you can find the actual skin color that the child will be in the tips of the ears and as well as the fingertips. So I'm making sure to concentrate that color right there on the edge of the fingertips and then in the creases and also along some of the features of the fingers. So when placing color, we want to make sure that it's realistic. It's so much you have to think about whenever you are painting a baby. You have to think about the expression of the kit, the placement of the fingers. You have to think about the ultimate skin color, the anatomy. There's a lot that comes into play whenever you are capturing your vision of what you want the baby to be. And when you're going for realism, you want to mimic real life as much as possible. So there's a lot of factors at play when painting. And around the wrist is also another shaded area. I talked a little bit about shading in the previous video, but just to remind you, you want to make sure that you are concentrating the shading in very realistic areas and places where light doesn't necessarily hit. And if you're wondering why I have the head still out, I am allowing it to flash cure. And what that basically means is I'm allowing the paint to kind of like air dry, because anytime you're going to go put a piece into the oven, however you place it into that oven is exactly how it will come out. So let's say I accidentally smudged the paint, then immediately put it into the oven. Unfortunately, I'm going to have a smudge on my vinyl and it's really hard to go back from there. So I always paint, then let it air dry, and then after it finishes air drying, I put it into the oven. But right before the oven, I check to make sure there are no flaws or anything on it, and put it on 265 in the oven for about 9 minutes. So now we're at the little tootsies, the feet. So it's going to be pretty much a similar thing to the arms and the hands. we're going over the creasing, we are doing the toes, and of course, we're doing the shading. And I'm using a flat shading brush for a very seamless application. Like, there are no brush strokes with this or anything. And because we're doing an older baby, you won't see me bring in much mottling like we did on Johanna. If you've watched that video, if you haven't, please be sure to check out the Johanna series. I really enjoyed that with you guys. Oh, and by the way, my cosmetic wedge, I didn't buy brown. It's brown because I've used it since I started. So just to let you know, in case you were wondering, well, where do I find the brown cosmetic wedge? You won't, or you may find one, but that's probably done in a manufacturer. This actually came white, but I can no longer find these jumbo wedges. I watch, I think she's Heart to Heart Babies, Jackie Ortiz here on YouTube, and she mentioned CVS having a brand, their brand called Other and Other, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments. But I have not been able to find them online or even in the store, and I've checked a few stores here in my area. So let's get into this belly plate. It's actually anatomically correct, so I am making sure to leave certain parts out of frame. But we are going over this in areas that need to be shaded, which is in the center of the chest, to the sides of the chest, along the outer perimeter of the actual like pot belly area. And then we're also going to get into the belly button itself, because we want to make sure that we are bringing that shaded look into the belly plate. And we have to be very strategic about the placement for this, because with the belly, we want to make sure light hits directly the highlighted areas, which would be that top of the belly, or the most round part of the belly. And I used a fan brush for no particular reason other than I just felt like using a fan brush. I like to do that sometimes. Just pull out the fan brush and use it on the belly plate. So here we go with the eyelid purple layer. The opposite of orange is definitely blue, but I am going to play on the yellowish tones of the burnt sienna, because we know that yellow and purple makes brown. So I'm going to come in with this purple layer to kind of tone it down just a little bit more, but yet still striving and working towards our goal, which is the brown layer. I wish I could give you a magic recipe on how to get to this point, but the only thing I can tell you is time, trial, errors, successes, and what have you. So you just have to try. I'm just trying to give you a roadmap to get started. But I am going in with this particular brush because I've already used it in many purple layers on other babies. So these pink brushes have been tinted purple, so I just tend to pull those out. And this is just a detail brush, and I'm getting into the ear. Remember, the top of the ear is going to be the darker place, but I'm getting around the entire ear because we're still trying to work to achieve the skin tone. And then I'm going over the creases just to make sure that those are getting color with every layer. And as you saw, I went into the inner corner of the eye and under the brow bone, because that is where a lot of the realism comes from. With black babies, you see the inner corner as darker, so you want to make sure that you're going under there as well. The shape of the sculpt, like the forehead, really matters, because you want to follow that pattern, and that's really what I'm doing here as I shade. I'm actually doing this like I'm coloring. I saw where prototype artist Sylvia, I cannot pronounce her last name, but Sylvia's Creations, she made a post on Instagram just talking about, even after 14 years of painting, you know, just the lessons that she's learned from her failures. So that's just a testament to say that I get it. And so for anybody that's discouraged in this journey, just know that it happens to the best of them. And you are just on your path and your journey, and you'll get there. You just got to start, mess up, get better. A lot of the times you will find your greatness in your failures. I promise you that. Because like she said, you have to be creative then when you mess up. And of course, some of us, we probably resort straight to stripping. And I'll admit, I will still tend to do that, but I won't necessarily strip it all the way down. Guys, the onyx acetone, the white one, not the blue one, that can be found at Walmart or like Sally's. If you're in the US, not sure where you could find it overseas, but it's really good for not going straight through to the vinyl, to the bare vinyl. It's almost like erasing layers. So if you've ever had an issue with one layer going too heavy, I'm not going to say that, yes, it just erases that top layer. It may erase a few, but at least you don't have to start from the very beginning. And that's what I've learned in using that one. Unfortunately, the Winsor & Newton that we used to use is no longer the same formula. It's like soap. So with that in mind, I've had to find something else. I know that people have talked about clean strip and just using other forms of acetone, but this onyx in particular, I love it. I love it. So we are working this eyelid purple through and pouncing and blotting, making sure that I'm getting those areas blended. And basically, I just went over the burnt sienna, but I do notice that I am shading a bit more in areas where I didn't with the burnt sienna. And that's because this one is a little bit darker when it goes into the vinyl, which is ultimately helping to create, of course, the shaded effect. And something for you to always remember, to kind of like test your Gamsol to your paint ratio, if you will. Do that on like a scrap piece of paper towel, because if it's too heavy, like it'll pull, and then if it's too thin, you won't see it. And also, if it's too pigmented, you've actually gone too far. You want to add some more Gamsol to dilute it. Because we're going for like the quietest whisper of eyelid purple. Moving right along, but this time we're going to be working towards the flesh tone on Coco by Ebtehal Abul. So what's important about this is the colors that I chose. I recently installed a glass mat to become my palette. It's just easier this way. So anyway, I've actually mixed Flesh 03, Viridian Green 03, and a little bit of titanium white to create this color. So I've laid it out on my glass mat, and I've mixed in some thinning medium and a little bit of Gamsol to the side to help me with the movement of the paint. But here we are pretty much further down the road than we are with Kylie on this particular sculpt. And as you can see, the placement is pretty much the same in the same areas. What's most important here is we're basically like blending flesh. We're making sure we are locking in the flesh color. And then we'll repeat as many as we need until we reach our actual skin tone. But I usually do about 2 to 3 coats of this because I've done so much of the work with the underlayers. And unfortunately, I didn't record any of Coco's underlayers because I didn't want to be repetitive. But I wanted to bring you into the end of hers. So just sit back and enjoy me painting Coco. swatches that we did on the lighting